Welcome to First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and in your wholeness. No matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming, you are welcome here in love. And I want to just remind you that this is our final Sunday in our pledge drive, and you'll be seeing the link throughout the service if you haven't made your pledge yet. But first, I'd like to begin with our chalice lighting. Ingrid?
We light this chalice as a symbol of our sacred time together. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope. And we
begin with a testimonial from Steve Goldman, a member of our stewardship team.
Welcome to our travel show. I'm Rick Steves Goldman, taking you somewhere that's not been seen for a century, or at least a year. Like in London, at St. Paul's Cathedral, people climb to the famous dome. Here in Oklahoma City, at First Unitarian Church, people climb to the famed balcony. And here it is, the preferred perch of members who've attended for decades, like myself and Susan Biles, but it's often the first vantage point for newcomers who look out and see our sanctuary. And it looks rather unadorned, rather plain. Oh, if these pews could talk. They could tell us so much. Why is this sanctuary seem so plain? Let's ask the pews. Yes, over here. Oh yes, we're a faith of ideas, not icons or statues on the wall. And here? We're a church of service, not stained glass. Another idea from the pew up here. First UU is a congregation of doers, not just doctrine. Not so true. So as we look out again at our sanctuary, right now, it's quiet, it's empty, but with hope soon to be filled again with people. You can almost hear the echoes of stirring sermons and chords of the choir. Oh, if only these pews could talk. But first, they need their teeth brushed and their skin cleansed, because in this COVID era, sanitation and safety is going to be a plus. And sanitation and safety are expensive. It's going to be an ongoing cost during this COVID era. So what message do our pews have for us? They've seen so much, they've felt so much. What message is even in the tapestry of these cushions, intricately woven into the fabric? What message might there be?
Thank you, Steve. Our opening song is In My Life by the Beatles, performed here by our own Lana Henson and Warren Palmer.
Some have gone. Hi, Claire Allwater here, sitting in the Eddy room at church. I chose this location to share my thoughts with you today because it is here that I began to feel at one with the church and its wonderful staff and you, the members, and Unitarianism. I moved to Oklahoma in 2018, and when I joined the church in 2019, it was the first time I had been a Unitarian. My background is Dutch Reformed, Presbyterian, and Methodist. The first chalice group that Reverend Diana conducted was held here in the Eddy room, and I am so very glad I signed up for it because I gained a much better understanding of what it meant to be a Unitarian. But even better, I made lasting, loving relationships with members of the group. I truly love our church and all it stands for, and I am so grateful that it is part of my life. Also, I pledge. I think I made my first pledge when I was 14, and I have pledged at every other church I've joined in the past. A financial commitment, as generous as is reasonable, is what allows a church to function well. And I very much want our wonderful church to function well and be financially secure. That way, it can continue to nurture and enrich us so that we in turn can do our very best to make a difference in our corner of the world and in the larger world to make it a better place.
Hello, this is Tom Perriam coming to you live, well, not actually live, from the RE wing of our beautiful church. Many of you will be familiar with the rainbow draped lighting here. I'm going to walk into the Kaleidoscope room, which is the biggest of the classrooms up here. And Kaleidoscope is used for religious education during the 10 o'clock hour and often at the 11 o'clock hour, especially if it's too cold to go outside, the children are brought here to play together. There's toys and games, board games, play together and build connections with their community. It's often deafeningly loud up here. It's strange and sad to me to see it this quiet. Now, many of you will have been teachers in these classrooms up here, and many of you will have had children up here, and some of you even grew up here. This has always been one of my favorite spots in the church. Now, I wanted to show this off. Some of you haven't been here in a while. The view from the window of the RE wing is very different than it was last time we were here. The fields and playgrounds of Villa Teresa are now filled with townhomes. Life is continuing to go on. Growth and change are happening even with COVID. And when we get back in person, growth and change will happen here in these classrooms too. But we need you. We need your financial support to build and grow and get these kids back in here and make this room deafeningly loud once more. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Our story today is called Breath of Gratitude. Lee was having a no good, very bad day. He could feel his heart slowly deflating after each and every horrible, terrible thing that went wrong. First, he broke his glasses while he was trying to clean them. They snapped right in the middle where they rested on his nose. His mom had to super glue them together. It was embarrassing, and he was just so angry they couldn't go get another pair. He was so angry, he felt his heart deflate some. And it was so cold outside, he couldn't go play. He hated when it got cold outside because he loved going outside to run around. Sometimes he could go outside and play in the snow, but this was the worst kind of cold, the kind without any snow. He was so angry, he felt his heart deflate a little more. So since he couldn't play outside, he decided to play with his sister Susie. Now, they didn't always agree on what to play, but one of the few things they both liked to do was build with blocks. Lee decided to build the tallest stock of blocks he could. And just as he was putting the final piece on top, the tower tumbled down. And it was all his sister's fault. He knew it. His sister started crying and he stormed out. He was so angry, he felt his heart deflate a little more. All day long, bad things kept happening. And by the end of the day, his heart felt totally deflated and almost completely empty. He hoped that tomorrow would be better, but he wasn't holding out too much hope. Well, that night, he had the strangest dream. And when he woke up, he remembered a voice telling him that he was going to have a chance to redo the day. He was excited because he hoped he could turn his horrible, terrible day around. But he also remembered the voice saying that he should be thankful. Well, his day started off the same. Although he tried not to, he still broke his glasses. But he remembered what the voice in the dream said, and he decided to try and not get so angry. When his mom came to fix them with super glue again, this time he said, "Thank you, Mom." And when he noticed how his mom gave him a relieved smile in return, when he said thanks, his heart began to inflate. And when he wasn't allowed outside and had to stay inside, he said thanks for having a house to stay in when it was cold. He knew not everyone had such a warm place to be on a cold day. There is something special about the places we love. And when he said thanks, his heart inflated just a little bit more. And when it came time to play with his sister Susie, and his tall tower of blocks came tumbling down, instead of getting angry, he noticed how sorry his sister looked. It wasn't her fault the blocks fell. Sometimes that just happens. And this time, instead of getting angry, he suggested they build a castle together. It was the best afternoon of block building ever. And when he said thanks, his heart inflated just a little bit more. All day long, the same bad things happened. But this time, he found a way to say thanks. And by the end of the day, his heart felt full. Every time you say thanks to someone, your heart swells just a little bit more. Saying thanks is like breathing life into your heart and soul. So let's try saying thank you together. I invite you to keep yourself on mute during this time. On the count of 3, I want you to say thank you. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Did you feel your heart swell just a little bit? All right, now I want you to think of something bad that happened to you this week. Can you think of something bad that may have happened to you this week? Have it in mind. Now I want you to think of something, anything that you could have been thankful for during that something bad. And on the count of 3, let's say thank you again. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Did you feel your heart swell just a little bit more with the breath of gratitude and love? All right, now finally, on the count of 3, I want you to shout thank you as loud as you can. Now, this may be, if we were in person, I would encourage those with sensitive hearing to kind of plug your ears, but as loud as you can, on the count of 3, I want you to shout it out for the whole world to hear. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm glad I remembered to mute before doing that. My heart feels so full It feels like it could pop right out of my chest. May all of us remember to say thank you and breathe the love of gratitude into our hearts. So may it be. I'd now like to invite David Moore to introduce our offering. David?
Good morning. I am David Moore. I am the treasurer for the congregation. I'm also a member of the Board of Trustees, and I chair the Financial Working Group. Every Sunday, we take an offering. All of the cash and designated checks from that offering go directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work in our community, our Change for Change partners. This month, our Change for Change partner is Pombe Ghana. Pombe Ghana is a partnership with local communities in northern Ghana and the United States-based Board of Directors. First Unitarian has been a longtime supporter of this program. Together, we have built the La Angam Learning Center, an innovative school for bilingual child-centered education from pre-kindergarten to grade 6. You may wish to make a donation to our Change for Change partner using a credit card through our website, or you can always write out a check, put it aside to mail to First Unitarian tomorrow morning. Let today's offering reflect our highest aspirations for the work of this church in the world.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you, David. Our offertory today is We'll Come Shining Through, written by Brett Hessla, performed by me, Reverend Diana.
In these times of grief, I still believe in who we are and what we do. In these times of grief, I still believe you and I will come shining through. We'll come shining through. We'll come shining through. This much I know is true. We'll come shining through. We'll come shining through. You and I will come shining through. Till these hard days pass, we will hold fast to who we are and what we do. Till these hard days pass, we will hold fast. You and I will come shining through. We'll come shining through. We'll come shining through. This much I know is true. We'll come shining through. We'll come shining through. You and I will come shining through. Though we're burdened down, we'll carry on in who we are and what we do. Though we're burdened down, we'll carry on. You and I will come shining through. We'll come shining through. We'll come shining through. This much I know is true. We'll come shining through. We'll come shining through. You and I will come shining through. We'll go hand in hand, seeding this land with who we are and what we do. We'll go hand in hand, seeding this land. You and I will come shining through. We'll come shining through. We'll come shining through. This much I know is true. We'll come shining through. We'll come shining through. You and I will come shining through.
our choir, including this beautiful shimmel that we've had for 20 years, a gift of Anna Ruth Bricker, and our Reuters organ that are there every Sunday when we sing up to perform, show up to perform, and they're here every Wednesday night when we practice. There's some things besides just choir members and music that are required for a good choir, and that includes instruments that are reliable and that have been properly maintained. It costs money. So when you make your pledge this year, remember to keep our music sounding good for our choir. We need to have well-tuned and maintained instruments, and we have some of the best.
Hi, I'm Becky Talent, and I've been a member of this church and this choir for 34 years. Easter Sunday will be the 34th anniversary of my arrival at this wonderful place. And in all those years, I've been in the choir and I've relied on the choir, and I know that the congregation has loved the choir and have been blessed to be a member of that. And we've been lucky to have fabulous musicians lead us. Beverly McClary, who just retired last year, will be sorely missed, and we need to replace her. And we can't do that if we don't get an adequate budget. The choir wants to come back more than anything, and it's our hope that when we do get to return sometime soon, that we'll return with a fully intact music department, including a new choir director and a new organist or pianist. So consider your pledge. If you haven't made it, please consider how important it is for us to come back and be together fully. Thank you.
Thank you, Lana and Becky and Warren. So welcome to my office at the church. For some of you who've only joined us since we've been holding Zoom services, this is the first time you've seen this space. And even for some of you who've been going to First Unitarian for a long time, you may have never found your way down to the minister's office. So here it is. And I'm just gonna kind of swerve my laptop around so you can see over there behind the door is the space that I use, or that I did use before the pandemic for my pastoral work, holding couples counseling sessions, talking with folks who are grieving or having one-on-one get to know you discussions with newcomers. And this is where I do the administrative work of ministry, holding meetings with staff, reading policies, reviewing budgets, writing up blurbs, scheduling things for the newsletter. Now, of course, the division between the pastoral and administrative work isn't as clear cut as the division between two rooms. The two have a way of blending together. Even the most outcomes-oriented business meeting in a church context is as much or more about the people in the meeting as it is about the agenda. That's why at the beginning of board meetings and other business meetings, we light a chalice and we check in before we dig into the to-dos. Even though it's hard to draw clear lines between the different aspects of ministry, Unitarian Universalist ministers are expected to function in 7 areas: leading worship and officiating rites of passage, providing pastoral care and presence, encouraging and modeling spiritual development, witnessing to social justice, leading administration, serving the larger faith, and leading the faith into the future. That sounds like a lot, and it is. But the good news is that a minister does not do this work alone. That's because as Unitarian Universalists, we believe that church isn't about the minister. Church is about the ministries of the congregation. And those ministries are shared. So what does that look like in our church? Well, on a Sunday morning, it's not just the minister and the director of Lifespan Religious Exploration and other staff who make a worship service. It's the choir and the other musicians. It's the worship associate, a member of the congregation who writes a personal reflection and helps to lead the service. It's the people in the pews who lift up their voices in song. It's the ushers and the greeters, and it's the volunteer tech support people. During the pandemic, those roles have shifted some. There's not so much singing, sadly, but there is a lot more tech support. But the point is the same. Worship is a shared ministry. Pastoral care is a shared ministry too. The Befrienders is a group of trained lay leaders who keep track of the well-being of members and friends of our congregation, and who make caring phone calls, send cards, deliver meals, or send loving support to those who are hurting or who could use some assistance. During the pandemic, the Befrienders, as well as many others of you who've stepped up at this critical time, have been making wellness check-in calls every single week. Every time you call or send a friendly email to someone who's lonely, every time you help someone navigate the confusing COVID vaccination system, every time you offered a warm place to stay during the polar vortex or helped clean up brush after the ice storm, every time you send a get well card to someone recovering from surgery, you are doing the work of pastoral ministry. Teachers, youth advisors, religious exploration volunteers, members of the Lifespan RE team, RE parents, you are the resident theologians who help set a foundation for lifelong spiritual development. Members of Voice and our Social Justice Committee, those of you who participate in events like Muslim Day at the Capitol, or the Pride Parade, or the Martin Luther King Parade, Black Lives Matter marches and protests, and all kinds of actions for social justice. those of you who help get out the vote or write letters to your representatives. You are our prophetic voices. Church isn't about the minister. It's about the ministries that we share. Some of us teach, some of us preach, some of us speak truth to power and afflict the comfortable, and some of us comfort the afflicted. Some of us care for our building and grounds. Some of us take on the very difficult and often thankless ministry of governance. Just as we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, we believe that every ministry matters. Now, a common question that newcomers to our church ask is, what does it take to become a member? Well, the membership committee, which is another critical ministry, has decided that every member shouldn't just know our mission statement, but should have some lived experience of our mission. Our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. So how do you explore the eternal at First Unitarian? By attending worship services and RE classes, by joining a meditation, yoga, or Qigong session, by participating in a retreat or a chalice circle. And those are just a few options. What about nurturing community? Well, you might do that by teaching a class, volunteering with the Lifespan RE program, joining members of the Alliance who help host receptions in Daniel Hall after memorial services, accepting a nomination to serve on the board, serving as a greeter on Sunday mornings, or just showing up for coffee hour. Again, there is no lack of options. And pursuing the common good? Well, that might include leading or participating in social justice programs and actions. Or it might mean switching out our old incandescent bulbs for LEDs all around the church, or just being sure to recycle. To be a member in this congregation ought to mean some level of involvement in each of these three areas. So I ask you to take just a moment and think about how you are engaging with First Unitarian in each of these areas. And if you'd like, you can go ahead and put those things in the chat. And as you're putting those in, I'll keep going on. The thing about choosing an area of ministry is that it ought to be one that speaks to your heart. Any volunteer work that is done out of a sense of cold responsibility or out of an egotistical sense that only you can do something the right way will lead to burnout and frustration, either your own or others. But a ministry of the heart is life-giving. A ministry of the heart is one that serves from the saucer and not the cup. Let me explain that. So imagine that you have a cup of water. You recognize these cups from our coffee hours. Maybe you give some of that water to a friend who's thirsty and a little more to someone else. Maybe out of a sense of guilt because after all, you have water and someone else does not. And so you give more away and more and more. And before you know it, your cup is empty. And now you are parched, and there is nothing that you can do for anyone else, let alone for yourself. But what if you filled your cup to overflowing, and then you gave away what flowed out? Then both you and others can drink. And so it is with our energy and our efforts. If we give service to our church or to any organization or to any person for that matter, out of a sense of just duty, then it's a matter of time before we burn out, run out of energy, and have nothing left for ourselves or others. But if we can find those ministries that give us joy and life so that our cup overflows, then we can share that bounty with others and keep being replenished. There's one problem with the cup and saucer metaphor. The cup and saucer never change. No matter how much water you put into them, the cup and saucer never get any bigger. But the heart, like that balloon that Tim was blowing up earlier, the heart has this amazing ability to grow. The more we feed it by doing the things we love, the more love we have to spread to others. Well, I want to go back to that question about what it takes to be a member at First Unitarian, because I didn't fully answer it. The first part of the answer is, to be a member, you should find a way to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. The second part is, whatever ministry you choose, it should be one that feeds your soul, so that you in turn can feed others. But there's a third thing, and that is to give financially to your church, to pledge. And this is where the air goes out of the balloon for many. Being asked to make a monetary contribution can feel somehow not spiritual. Just talking about making a pledge can feel extremely uncomfortable because so many of us have been so well trained to think of money as a topic not to be discussed in polite circles. But a financial gift to your spiritual home should be like that cup of water. No one is asking you to give until you exhaust your means, until your well or your cup runs dry. But give with joy, with your heart, just what you can. Now, I'm not going to be like one of those prosperity gospel preachers and tell you that the more you give, the more you'll receive, because that just isn't true. But I will tell you that if you give what you can from the heart with love, then that abundant love can indeed expand the reservoir of the heart so that generosity grows. Please join me in a spirit of prayer or meditation. Spirit of life that holds all things. The past week held some hard memories for nearly all of us. March 8th was the anniversary of the last time we met together as a congregation in our beloved sanctuary. 1 year ago, on March 11th, coronavirus was declared a pandemic. 10 years ago on that same date, the second worst nuclear accident in history occurred, along with a tsunami that swept away thousands of lives in Japan. 1 year ago, on March 12th, the UUA urged all Unitarian Universalist congregations to suspend in-person gatherings. On March 13th, 2020, Breonna Taylor was murdered in her bed by police officers, and there still has been no justice. It was also around this time last year when schools were making the decision to stay closed past the spring break. Finally, as more of us are vaccinated and the possibility of returning to a life lived together begins to come into view, many of us are faced with the realization that not all of our loved ones will be there with us. The pain of loss of those who died or moved away during the time we were apart may return like a fresh wound. And any of these memories would be hard to hold, but all of them together can tear at our hearts, making it difficult to get up and go on. But after mourning and remembering, we do go on. Please join me in a moment of silence to remember all of these things that have passed in our lives. May the memories of those we have lost be a blessing to us always. May our lives be a tribute to their memory. May we find the resilience to keep moving forward into each new day. May it be so. Amen. For our closing hymn today, we have sort of a late Valentine's Day gift to you all from our First Unitarian virtual choir, a gift from the heart. This is our virtual choir singing, "It Had to Be You, and You Made Me Love You."
It had to be you.
It had to be you.
I wandered around and finally found somebody who could make me feel true,
Could make me feel blue.
and even be glad just to be sad thinking of you. Some others unseen might never be mean, might never be cross or try to be boss, but they wouldn't do.
Oh, nobody else
Gave me a thrill with all your faults. I love you still. It had to be you.
wonderful you.
Had to be you. You made me love you. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I want some love that's true. Yes, I do. I do. You know I do. Give me what I cried for. You know that brand of kisses that I died for. You know you made me love you.
It had to be you.
Ingrid, would you extinguish our chalice for us?
We extinguish this chalice, this flame, but not the light of love and community which burns in our hearts.
And now go now in peace, love, and compassion. May your hearts be fed until love overflows. Please join us after the service in just a few minutes for our virtual coffee hour. Remember that you have to leave this Zoom space and come back into the coffee hour Zoom space. Please be well, everyone. Be safe. We're getting there. We're getting back to the day where we'll be here. Until then, much love to all of you. Our postlude is On the Day We Are Together Again.
Happy birthday, dear Joey. Happy birthday to you. 60! On the day we are together again. On the day we are together again. I will pull you in close like a hoop with no end. On the day we are together again, we will share the same table again. We will share the same table again. I'll pass you the salt. The candlelight will bend when we eat at the same table again. We will walk around the block hand in hand. We will walk around the block hand in hand. We will stop for a snack at the taco truck stand. We will walk around the block hand in hand. Someday we will go back to work. Someday we will go back to work. May we be among people who respect our worth. Someday we will go back to work. I will help the strangers I meet. I will help the strangers I meet. It is possible to get back on our feet. I will help the strangers I meet. I will write you a letter for now. I will write you a letter for now. Hope is a message that survives somehow. I will write you a letter for now. To the healers who keep us alive. To the healers who keep us alive. A toast to your courage, knowledge, and life.